Reports from committees. Prime Minister's questions.
Member for point of view.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the Honourable Prime Minister, could the Prime Minister indicate the government's policy position on the future of Atlantic LNG Train 1?
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Trinidad and Tobago own 10% of Train 1 in the Atlantic LNG operations. This matter, as raised in the question, is currently under discussion and consideration by all stakeholders. And as soon as the deliberations are completed, the government will so advise.
Member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much. Can the Prime Minister confirm, without prejudicing these sensitive matters, can you confirm that NGC has spent $200 million and transferred to Atlantic Train 1 for its upgrade?
Madam Speaker, that is the subject of another question. So it's there and I'll answer it at the appropriate moment.
Member for Oropouche East.
Prime Minister, could you indicate whether the National Gas Corporation will continue to provide indefinitely financial support to Train 1 until natural gas is found?
Member for Oropouche East, having regard to the question asked and the response that was given, it is difficult for me to allow those questions within the context of the standing order. Oropouche East.
Thank you. Prime Minister, in light of your position on this matter, could you tell us by any date, upcoming date, when all of these sensitive matters are expected to conclude, so you and your government could be transparent and account to the people of Trinidad and Tobago?
Madam Speaker, there is no government in Trinidad and Tobago that was ever as transparent as this government. So this issue has nothing to do with transparency. It has to do with the conduct of corporate business, and this aspect of corporate business is not the bacchanal of any Monday night or Thursday night forum. It requires decorum and confidentiality, and that is what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago. And I am not in a position at this time to provide any date for completion, but as I said in the answer, as soon as the shareholders have completed their deliberation on the outcome of these discussions, the population will be properly advised.
Puchis.
Prime Minister, I'm happy you mentioned no Monday night or Thursday night bacchanal. I'm focusing on Tuesday night bacchanal. Having expressed confidence in Mark what's his name? As president of...
Member, I'm not going to allow that based on the questions that were asked. Member for Tabaquite.
To the Prime Minister, could the Prime Minister indicate whether the report of Rear Admiral Hayden Pritchard and Senior Superintendent Arthur Barrington into the issuance of the firearm user's license will be made public?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, these works of the National Security Council will exist, but not to be made public at this time.
Member for Oropouche.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, are you prepared to say what was the cost of the venture undertaken by retired Rear Admiral Pritchard and retired Police Barrington?
Madam Speaker, contrary to the misinformation and obsession with this matter. There has been no cost associated with this matter.
Member for Orupuchis.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, in light of the free report, could you indicate if this report will be sent to Justice Stanley John to be the core of his inquiry?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, these are matters of national security, and I will not engage in the obsession of the member for Orupuch East.
Cheese.
Prime Minister, my obsession with accountability leads me to the next question. Did you, as chairman of the National Security Council, authorize an investigation into the operations of the TTPS?
Prime Minister.
I didn't hear that question, Madam Speaker. Could you repeat it, please?
Did you, as chairman of a subcommittee of cabinet, a policy-making subcommittee by the name of the National Security Council, authorize an operation, an investigation into the TTPS?
Madam Speaker, I am not aware of and have been engaged in no such thing.
Member for Orupuchis.
Prime Minister, bearing in mind that just yesterday, at a handover ceremony for a report from the Office of Law Enforcement and Policy, another report was done on the same subject matter. Would this report be also sent to Justice Stanley John?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, if the member could tell me what report he's talking about, I might be able to assist him. He seems to have an obsession with reports.
Member, you're allowed 4 questions. You have utilized all 4. The Prime Minister has answered. Member for Tabakit.
Could the Prime Minister indicate the terms of reference for retired Justice Stanley John selected to the inquiry into the allegations surrounding the process for the granting of the firearm user's license by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, as members know, especially my colleagues on the other side, that appointment of Stanley John is an appointment made by the Independent Service Commission. I am not aware that that is in the public domain as a document put out by the Commission. So the most I can tell my colleague from Tabakit at this time is that the report has not, the terms of reference have not been shared with me by the Independent Commission, and therefore I cannot assist her in her inquiry.
Member for Orupuchis.
Prime Minister, for absolute clarity, you are stating on the public record that the Police Service Commission has recruited and appointed retired Justice Stanley John to conduct this inquiry, not the National Security Council or yourself.
And I'm glad the member raised it, because I would like to caution the member, Madam Speaker. I, as said by him in the media, I have not appointed Justice Stanley John. It is the member for Orupuch who has put that misinformation in the public domain. Justice Stanley John, to the best of my knowledge, has been appointed by the Police Service Commission.
Orupuchis.
Prime Minister, bearing in mind there is enormous ambiguity and suspicion on this matter, could you call on the Police Service Commission to make clear whether or not they have appointed or recruited Justice Stanley John? Because to this date, the Police Service Commission has said nothing.
Madam Speaker, the only suspicion I see here is the behavior of the member for Orupuchis.
Member for Point-a-Pair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the Prime Minister, could the Prime Minister state if the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago was granted indemnity for its investment decisions from Atlantic Train 1 turnaround?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, no indemnity has been given to the board of NGC. If and when an indemnity is required, this will be considered by the Cabinet and appropriate action taken. I would expect, Madam Speaker, that as corporation sole, the Minister of Finance will receive any such request, and if he finds it appropriate, he will bring it to the Cabinet. And if the Cabinet sees it in the interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, in the conduct of our business, and the Cabinet finds it appropriate, the Cabinet will act appropriately.
Member for Point-a-Pair.
Madam Speaker, follow-up Prime Minister question. Based on your response, could you state if any request came from the Board of National Gas Company for indemnification for this turnaround?
I am aware, Madam Speaker, that the matter has been raised, but it has not been approved by the Cabinet. It's a matter with the corporation sole, and it's a matter for the corporation sole to decide whether he wants to pursue it with the Cabinet.
Member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, I believe you're also chairman of the Energy Subcommittee. Could you confirm whether or not the Board of NGC has indeed granted an indemnity to the Board of NGC LNG on the matter of Train 1 and $200 million plus?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, could I get that convoluted question again, please?
Madam Speaker, it's the same question, not another one. Is the Prime Minister aware whether or not the Board of NGC has granted an indemnity to the Board of NGC LNG? Yes or no?
Madam Speaker, I'm not aware of what the member is raising or driving at.
Member for Pointe-à-Pierre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the Prime Minister, could the Prime Minister provide an update to the new request for proposals for the sale of the Petrotrin refinery?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, on this matter, the process is ongoing. Interested qualified parties have now signed non-disclosure agreements and are currently undergoing their initial due diligence. Access has been granted to the virtual data room with all the requisite technical, commercial, and financial information required to make an initial bid proposal. We expect to receive those by the end of this month. Given the sensitive and confidential nature of the process, details such as the identification and quantification of the participating parties cannot be made public at this time.
Member for Naparima.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Given that the European Union has stated that Trinidad and Tobago remains listed as a non-cooperative jurisdiction for tax purposes, could the Prime Minister state whether all the steps taken thus far will ensure that Trinidad and Tobago be removed from this EU blacklist?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, we can confirm thus far that Trinidad and Tobago has completed legislative and administrative measures requested by the EU as at October 2020. It has also engaged in further discussions with the EU, requesting review for the purpose of being removed from the EU's blacklist. The EU is in the process of discussing further legislative and administrative requirements that it may consider appropriate for granting Trinidad and Tobago's requests, especially in light of Trinidad and Tobago's removal from the Financial Action Task Force FATF grey list in February 2020. Madam Speaker, the government can also confirm that we are bringing urgent completion to this matter. The Cabinet approved a high-level committee on July 1st, 2021 to spearhead the final resolution, and the government is aggressively pursuing resolution to this matter.
Member for Naparima.
Could the Prime Minister state whether Trinidad and Tobago remains blacklisted due to this government's failure to operationalize legislation passed in Parliament, since the EU indicated that this was an important consideration for them?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I could not confirm any such thing. What I could confirm is the moving of the goalposts along the way, and that these requests change consistently. And if the member is paying attention to CARICOM's complaint to the international community, one of the complaints we have, Madam Speaker, is the way we are being treated arbitrarily by the European Union, and not as definitively as when we dealt with the United States in the FATF matter.
Member for Naparima.
In November 21st, 2017, our Finance Minister wrote the EU committing to passing a suite of legislation to get us removed. One was the base erosion and profit shifting.
Member for Naparima, as you're quite familiar, you have 15 seconds, to ask a question. Please ask a question.
The Prime Minister state why the base erosion and profit shifting legislation promised by us to the EU has not been brought to Parliament.
Madam Speaker, that answer is absorbed in my first part when I said that Trinidad and Tobago has completed the legislative and administrative measures requested by the EU as of October 2020. There are still discussions as to what further administrative arrangements are required, and those matters are being pursued.
Member for Naparima.
Could the Prime Minister give us status of the suite of legislation passed to get us off the EU blacklist in terms of operationalization?
With the appropriate notice to the appropriate minister, and a comprehensive answer can be had to that.
One of two CARICOM countries on the EU blacklist. Could the Prime Minister give us a date when Trinidad and Tobago would not appear slothful and get off the list?
Madam Speaker, if the member is appreciative of how these matters are handled, he will understand that there are moving targets and changes in positions, and therefore the giving of a date is quite inappropriate.